Did you know that the shortest sentence in English can reveal the deepest truths about human nature? Imagine if I told you that ancient wisdom from thousands of years ago perfectly describes why people today make the same mistakes over and over again. What if there was a text that could help you master English grammar, expand your vocabulary, and understand something profound about the human condition all at the same time? That's exactly what we're going to discover today through one of the most challenging and eye-opening passages in the Bible. We're diving into Psalm 53, and by the end of this journey, you'll not only improve your English skills, but also understand why this ancient text feels incredibly modern. Get ready for some surprising revelations that might change how you see both language and life itself. This isn't just another English lesson, it's a deep dive into human psychology written in some of the most powerful English you'll ever encounter. Stay with me because what we're about to uncover will give you tools for both language mastery and personal insight. Let's begin this fascinating exploration together. The opening words of Psalm 53 hit us like a thunderbolt with their brutal honesty. The fool says in his heart, "There is no God." Notice how this sentence structure works in English. We have the subject fool, the verb says, and then a direct object clause. This is a perfect example of reported speech in English, where we quote what someone else has said or thought. The phrase "says in his heart" is particularly interesting for English learners because it's an idiom, meaning thinks to himself or believes privately. In modern English, we might say the fool thinks or the fool believes. But the original expression is much more powerful because it suggests something hidden, something the person keeps secret from others but can't hide from themselves. The word fool here isn't just about lacking intelligence, it's about moral blindness, someone who chooses to ignore obvious truths. This kind of precise vocabulary distinction is what makes English so rich and expressive. When we understand these subtle differences, our English becomes much more sophisticated and nuanced. Think about how this applies to your own English learning journey. Are there truths about grammar or vocabulary that you sometimes choose to ignore because they're difficult? The psalm continues with devastating clarity about human nature. They are corrupt, and their ways are vile. There is no one who does good. Let's break down this powerful sentence structure. We have two independent clauses connected by a semicolon. This is advanced punctuation that many English learners struggle with. The first part, "they are corrupt, and their ways are vile," uses parallel structure with two linked adjectives describing the same people from different angles. Corrupt refers to moral decay, like fruit that looks good on the outside but is rotten inside. Vile is even stronger, it means disgusting or morally repulsive. The second part, "there is no one who does good," uses the existential there construction, which is tricky for many English learners. It's not talking about a place, it's saying that such a person doesn't exist anywhere. This absolute statement might shock you, but it's making a point about universal human nature. Notice how the grammar mirrors the meaning, just as the semicolon divides two related but distinct thoughts. The content divides humanity's problem into two parts: what we are corrupt and what we do, vile actions. This is the kind of sophisticated English that will elevate your language skills to the next level. The next verse shifts perspective dramatically, and the English here teaches us about point of view and narrative. God looks down from heaven on the sons of men to see if there are any who understand, any who seek God. Notice the beautiful use of "looks down from heaven." This prepositional phrase creates a vivid image of divine perspective, like an angle in a movie. The phrase sons of men is a Hebrew idiom meaning human beings or humanity. In modern English, we'd probably say people or humans, but this ancient expression carries weight and dignity. The sentence structure here uses the infinitive to see to show purpose. God's looking has a specific goal. Then we get parallel infinitive phrases. If there are any who understand and any who seek God. The repetition of any emphasizes the search for even one person who meets these criteria. This construction, looking for something specific among many options, is common in English and worth mastering. We might say, are there any students who finished their homework, or is there anyone here who speaks Spanish? The grammar pattern is the same, but the stakes in the psalm couldn't be higher. God is searching all of humanity for people who truly understand and seek Him. The answer to God's search comes with crushing finality. Everyone is turned away. They have together become corrupt. There is no one who does good, not even one. This sentence demonstrates several advanced English concepts. Everyone is turned away uses present perfect tense, showing an action completed in the past with results continuing to the present. The metaphor of turning away suggests people were once facing the right direction but chose to turn their backs. They have together become corrupt. Adds the adverb together to emphasize unity in wrong choices. It's not just individual failure but collective moral collapse. The phrase together become might sound awkward to English learners, but it's emphasizing how people influenced each other toward corruption. The final part repeats the earlier statement but adds not even one for absolute emphasis. This is a rhetorical device called amplification, repeating an idea with added intensity. In English conversation, we use this pattern often. Nobody came to the party. Not even one person or nothing worked. Not even our backup plan. The grammar reinforces the meaning just as the sentence structure builds to that final, isolated phrase, not even one. The content builds to complete moral isolation. This is English at its most powerful, using language structure to mirror and amplify meaning. Now the psalm turns its attention to those who cause harm to others, and the English here crackles with indignation. Will the evildoers never learn those who devour my people as men eat bread and who do not call on God? This rhetorical question opens with will plus never, a double negative that creates emphasis rather than cancellation. In formal English, double negatives usually cancel each other out, but in rhetorical questions like this, they intensify the meaning. The question implies that these evildoers should have learned by now but stubbornly refuse to change. The metaphor, devour my people as men eat bread, is particularly striking for English learners. Devour means to eat hungrily and completely, like a wild animal consuming prey. But the comparison, as men eat bread, suggests something casual and routine. These people harm others as easily and thoughtlessly as eating their daily meal. This simile shows how normalized evil can become. The relative clause, who do not call on God, uses the present tense to show ongoing rejection of divine help. In English, call on can mean either to visit someone or to ask for help. Here it clearly means seeking God's assistance. The grammar structure of this verse, question, description, metaphor, and final explanation, creates a building sense of moral outrage that English students can learn to replicate in their own persuasive writing. The tables turn dramatically in the next verse, where divine justice finally appears. There they were, overwhelmed with dread, where there was nothing to dread. The opening there they were used as what grammarians call the existential construction. But here it's pointing to a specific moment in time rather than general existence. This is like saying suddenly, there they found themselves. It emphasizes the unexpected nature of what happened. Overwhelmed with dread uses the past participle overwhelmed to show these people were completely overtaken by fear. The word dread is stronger than simple fear. It suggests anticipation of something terrible about to happen. The most interesting part grammatically is where there was nothing to dread. This creates a paradox. They're terrified in a situation where there is no apparent threat. This teaches us about the psychological power of guilt and conscience. Sometimes the greatest fear comes not from external threats, but from internal awareness of wrongdoing. For English learners, this sentence structure is valuable. There they were, emotion, where there was contradiction. You could say there she was, crying with joy, where there was every reason to be sad, or there he stood, confident and calm, where there was chaos all around. This pattern creates drama and emphasis in English writing and speaking. The Psalm's climax reveals the ultimate source of this mysterious dread, and the English here builds to a powerful conclusion. God scattered the bones of those who attacked you. You put them to shame, for God despised them. The verb scattered creates a vivid image of complete defeat and humiliation. In ancient times, leaving bodies unburied was the ultimate disgrace. It meant your enemies didn't even consider you worthy of basic human dignity. The phrase scattered the bones uses alliteration, the repetition of the S sound, which makes the phrase more memorable and impactful. Those who attacked you uses past tense to describe completed action, showing that God's justice, though sometimes delayed, is certain. The second part, you put them to shame, switches from God as subject to addressing the reader directly. This is called shifting point of view, a sophisticated literary technique. Put to shame is an idiom meaning to humiliate or disgrace someone publicly. The final clause, for God despised them, gives the reason for this divine action. Despised is stronger than disliked. It suggests complete rejection and contempt. The sentence structure moves from action scattered to result put to shame to reason God despised them, creating a logical flow that English learners can adopt in their own explanatory writing. This verse shows how English can build dramatic tension through word choice, imagery, and sentence structure working together. The psalm concludes with a heartfelt prayer that every English learner can appreciate, the longing for better times ahead. Oh, that salvation for Israel would come out of Zion. When God restores his captive people, Jacob will rejoice and Israel will be glad. The opening, oh, that is an exclamatory phrase expressing strong desire. It's like saying if only or I wish that. This construction is somewhat formal in modern English, but it appears in poetry and passionate speech. Salvation for Israel would come out of Zion uses the conditional mood would come to express hope for something not yet realized. Out of Zion means from Jerusalem, God's dwelling place according to Hebrew belief. The second sentence, when God restores his captive people, uses when, not if. This shows confidence that restoration will happen, not uncertainty about whether it might occur. Captive people refers to those held prisoner, either literally or metaphorically. The final part uses parallel structure. Jacob will rejoice and Israel will be glad. Jacob and Israel are two names for the same people. So this repetition, called synonymous parallelism, emphasizes the completeness of future joy. Rejoice and be glad are synonyms, but rejoice suggests more active, expressive celebration, while be glad can be quieter, contentment. This ending transforms the psalm from diagnosis of human corruption to prescription for divine healing. The grammar moves from present problems to future solutions, teaching English learners how to use tenses to create hope and anticipation in their own communication. So what have we discovered together in this journey through Psalm 53? We've seen how ancient Hebrew wisdom translated into English creates a masterpiece of moral psychology. The psalm takes us from the private thoughts of fools who deny God through the universal corruption of humanity to God's searching gaze that finds no one truly seeking Him. We've witnessed evildoers who harm others as casually as eating bread, only to find themselves overwhelmed with inexplicable dread when divine justice arrives. Finally, we've joined in the hopeful prayer for salvation and restoration that transforms despair into confident expectation. But beyond the spiritual message, we've also mastered sophisticated English patterns, reported speech, parallel structure, rhetorical questions, metaphors and similes, conditional mood, existential constructions, and shifting points of view. These aren't just grammar rules, they're tools for expressing the deepest human experiences with precision and power. The vocabulary we've encountered: corrupt, vile, devour, dread, despised, salvation. Restore represents English at its most expressive and emotionally resonant. Perhaps most importantly, we've seen how language structure can mirror and amplify meaning, how grammar itself becomes part of the message. This is what makes studying English through great literature so valuable. We're not just learning rules. We're discovering how language can capture the full range of human experience with beauty, clarity, and unforgettable impact.